morning. Welcome to the online campus of the Vineyard Church here in Bloomington-Normal. In just a little bit, I'll explain to you what's going to happen today through our online services. But do me a huge favor. Would you like this video? Would you share it on your personal feed on whatever platform you're watching, through YouTube, through Facebook, or any other means? And we would encourage you to take this and share it with your friends and let them know how amazing it is that you found us and hopefully found Jesus here online. As we get rolling here today, maybe make a comment in the comment section of this video, and one of our online hosts would love to talk to you. You can even ask for prayer there. You can also text the number at the bottom of the screen. This is our church's number, and somebody from our church staff will get back to you. We'll pray with you, answer any questions that you might have. The last thing that you can do is go to vineyardbloomington.com. That's vineyardbloomington.com. And when you get on there, it might be hard because you might be watching this on your phone or your iPad or something like that, and so you're like, oh, how in the world do I do that? But go to vineyardbloomington.com. Sometime during the service, maybe pause the video and even go there now. And there's a little button right at the top of the page that says Connect with Us. If you click on Connect with Us, you can give us your name and your email, and you can ask for prayer on there. You can tell us that you have interest in things like small groups or baptisms or anything like that. But that Connect with Us is kind of your lifeline to us, gets us not only praying for you, but also gets you on our weekly email list so you know what's coming up next in the life of our church. One last thing, if you have an amazing time today, or maybe you just want to be generous today, you can also, through vineyardbloomington.com, get on there and give. Click the give button, follow the instructions there, and you can reach out to us if you have any questions about that. But we're just so excited that you are here with us this weekend. Now, here's what you'll experience here on our online church every weekend. We'll do about 10 minutes of musical worship. We're going to be singing with our band, just like we do here in our live services, and then you'll hear from one of our teaching pastors, either myself or my wife Corey, family life pastor, one of our other guests, but we'll let you know who that person is, and then it'll be done. So you're going to be with us for about 45 minutes to an hour. We're so glad that you're here. Enjoy the musical worship, enjoy the teaching today, and we pray that you engage with Jesus' love, with Jesus' good news, the gospel, today in such a way that your life gets changed and impacted. Have an amazing Sunday, friends.
There's a sound I love to hear. It's the sound of the Savior's robe as he walks into the room where people pray, where we hear praises he hears faith. So
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me here. I really appreciate the opportunity to share, and with everyone being here, I'm really looking forward to what the Holy Ghost does today. So, Holy Spirit, come, release your word, release what you have today, all the nuggets that you have for us, and it's usually different for everybody. So, Holy Spirit, thank you that you can translate to every person here that what they need when they need it. So, Father, in the name of Jesus, amen. All right, message series. This series is Unlikely Heroes. But I want to start off with talking about heroes. We're inundated right now with heroes. We got heroes everywhere. We got the Guardians of the Galaxy. We got Thor. We got all the MCU. We got the DC heroes. I think I looked it up online, and there is 70,000 different heroes that we know of in every shape and form that you can imagine, and so that we know of. And so they're everywhere. They're on lunch boxes. They're on everything. Tattoos. People got tattoos. There's all sorts of merchandise with superheroes on them, and we celebrate. We celebrate heroes everywhere. And with the CGI that we have now, we can literally pretty much do anything and see anything on screen. In this day and age, with what we have, the technology we have, so it's celebrated. So pick a hero. Which hero is your favorite? Is it Hulk? Is it Captain Marvel? Is it Black Widow? Or is it Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man? You name it. Pick one. They're usually quick to come up to our mind, and well, with all the T-shirts we have, I think I have at least 4 T-shirts at home that have a superhero on it. Or is it the real life heroes? You know, let's talk about the reality. You know, where the rubber hits the road. Is it police officers? Is it nurses? Firefighters? You know, those are heroes. War heroes, men that come back with the purple stars, with done amazing things out in battle. Or how about the simple single moms or single dads, or moms and dads that actually stick around or are engaged? I would say that's heroic. I would say that's the hero. This seems like this day and age, it's not exactly the thing is actually to be together right now, and so I think that is heroic. So, what describes a hero? If we look at the comic book heroes, what are comic book heroes? Comic book heroes are characters with extraordinary powers that perform heroic actions. They do good on behalf of others. They are superheroes with unique qualities, unique abilities that they use for good. Well, okay, let's back up a little bit. What makes a hero? Let's talk about what makes a hero. Is it a matter of strength? Is it the ability to be fast? Is it the ability to fly or see through walls? What do we think a hero is? And in this message, I want to dive deeper into, well, what's deeper than the surface? Because most of these abilities, most of these superpowers are on the exterior of the person. They're on the outside of the person. It's the great strength, the speed, those abilities are on the outside. But God does things differently. He brings things, he looks at the heart of a man. He looks on the inside of a woman to see what's there. So as we dig into this, I went to the dictionary and I looked up what a hero is. And so here's a couple definitions. A person who is admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. This can be a war hero. So the examples I mentioned already: police officer, firefighter, doctors, teachers, coaches, nurses, highly respectable people that are unique in communities, that are relied on, and they're there day in, day out. Also, I added that last little bit, but also a hero is a person of distinguished courage or ability, admired for their brave deeds and noble qualities. In the opinion of others, a person who has heroic qualities or has performed a heroic act and is regarded as different and extraordinary. That is a hero. Now, the message we're talking about today is we're talking about unlikely heroes. So we can quickly name off all kinds of heroic things that Superman did, or Green Lantern, and we can name off those things that they did on the outside for a community. But what about an unlikely hero? What is the definition? This is actually funny because I looked up the definition of an unlikely hero. This is what it says. First word was not likely. Improbable. Unpromising. So then it just made me think this is literally, let's just say, lacking any of these previously mentioned qualities that we just talked about for superheroes. So, a person who doesn't look like any of these qualities. This is what we're talking about. Somebody out in left field. So that's where the term comes from, left field. You know, it's the worst player is usually out in left field. You got to give them some game time. And so that's where that phrase comes from. An unlikely hero is someone whose heroism comes as a surprise to us. It simply isn't what we expected of such a person. You know, that's funny. So just a couple examples I thought of was like Lord of the Rings, Frodo. Frodo was an unlikely hero, man. He saved, but it was Sam. Sam was the real hero in that story. That was amazing. So that's an unlikely hero. How about the rat in the MCU Ant-Man movie, where it went across the dash and hit the button to bring him back from the quantum realm? That's an unlikely hero. Yay, rat. Yay, rat. How about the house full of foster kids in the movie Shazam? They became a family of heroes. That was unlikely. That was unexpected. So those are a couple, this day and age, unlikely heroes. How about some biblical unlikely heroes? This is a couple examples here. How about this ruddy 14-year-old little guy named David, last in his family line, who his dad didn't even want to admit that he owned him, that he was his. That sounds like an unlikely hero. That sounds like an unlikely character. And he led Israel. That was King David. He became King David. Or how about Uncle Mordecai, who got his little niece into the palace to win the king's heart and then foiled an assassination against the king? Unlikely hero. Or how about the little baby floating in the river that led the Israelites to the promised land? Highly unlikely. But what we're going after here is another unlikely hero. And so I'd like to present this character, the demoniac, as an unlikely hero. And so this is going to be fun digging into this. I really had fun going after this. And so let's just go to the scriptures, let's read the story, and then we can pick the nuggets out of this. So let's read. Let's start in Mark 5, chapter 1. They came to the other side of the sea, to the region of the Gerasenes. When Jesus got out of the boat, immediately a man from the tombs with an unclean spirit met him. And the man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with chains, For he had often been bound with shackles for the feet and with chains, and he tore apart the chains and broke the shackles into pieces, and no one was strong enough to subdue and tame him. Night and day he was constantly screaming and shrieking among the tombs and on the mountains, and cutting himself with sharp stones. Seeing Jesus from a distance, he ran up and bowed down before him in homage. And screaming with a loud voice, he said, "What business do we have in common with each other, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I implore you, by God, swear to me, do not torment me." For Jesus had been saying to him, "Come out of the man, you unclean spirit." He was asking him, "What is your name?" And he replied, "My name is Legion, for we are many." And he began begging him. They began begging him repeatedly not to send them out of the region. Now there was a large herd of pigs grazing on the mountain, and the demons begged him, saying, "Send us to the pigs, so that we may go into them." Jesus gave them permission, and the unclean spirits came out of the man and entered the pigs. The herd, numbered about 2,000, rushed down the steep bank into the sea, and they were drowned, one after the other, in the sea. The herdsmen tending the pigs ran away and reported it in the city and the country. And the people came to see what had happened. They came to Jesus and saw the man who had been demon-possessed sitting down, clothed and in his right mind. The man who had previously had the legion of demons. This was the man sitting there free, and they were frightened. Those who had seen it described in detail to the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man and told them all about the pigs. So the people began to beg with Jesus to leave their region. As he was stepping into the boat, the Gentile man who had been demon-possessed was begging with him, asking that he might go with him as a disciple. Jesus did not let him come, but instead he said to him, "Go home to your family and tell them all the great things that the Lord has done for you, and how he has had mercy on you." So he obeyed and went away and began to publicly proclaim in Decapolis, the region of the 10 Hellenistic cities, all the great things that Jesus had done for him, and all the people were astonished. So the breaking chains part, the not being able to be subdued, that really sounds like a villain to me. If superheroes are the ones that use their unique abilities and strength to fight on behalf of others, or this guy definitely fits the category of not fighting for others. Definitely not fighting for others, and actually scaring people away. So there's 3 Gospels that actually talk about this guy. And so what's interesting is that in 2 Gospels, it's described as one man living in the tombs. And in one Gospel, the guy's so freaked out about this guy, he says there's 2. There's 2 demon-possessed guys there in the tombs. And so, so a couple things here I'd like to highlight that stick out to me as I was praying about this. A couple of these nuggets just really popped out at me. First, it says in verse 2, "As soon as Jesus got out of the boat, there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit." And then in verse 6, it says it again. "And when from a distance, a long way off, he saw Jesus, he ran and fell on his knees in front of him." That's an interesting thing. So I work outside, and I'm a surveyor, and so my job is to actually look at boundary lines. So I get out in the country, and I look around, and I see long distances. So I can, I have to look down half a mile or a quarter mile, or I can, sometimes we actually have to look a mile down the road just to see where the line is. We've got to make sure if we're setting a line, putting points, lath on the line every 200 feet along that line, we want to make sure they're straight. So from a long distance, I have experience looking long distances and looking for details. So how far away was this guy when he saw these guys get out of the boat? Okay, so if we enter into this story, here's this, I mean, if we really dig in and we put ourselves in his shoes and we're looking a long distance away and we see a dozen guys get off this boat on shore, how can you tell who's the leader? Like, from that far away, who do you know? It's not really until you get up to the group that you actually recognize who the leader is. But it says here very clearly that from a long way off, he was already running before Jesus hit shore. He was already running. So when Jesus stepped on shore, boom, there's a man, met him there. A man met him there. I'd like to propose that the man who was controlled by the demons was watching from inside his body. Something with great power stilled the storm on the lake. Now, you read the stories. He was naked. He was in the tombs constantly. It says he was continually there. So what does continually mean? I mean, that sounds like a long time to me. So if he's there naked, in the tombs, walking around this place, and he's been there all this time, then he's very aware of what the weather's like, what's going on in there, what the seasons are. And so if he's in the tombs, and he's aware of a storm that's all of a sudden, I mean, at its peak, it's raging, and then all of a sudden, boom, calm. I think that would get somebody's attention. I don't think it was just the guys on the boat that experienced that. I think it was the whole surrounding area, the villages, that also felt the after effect of Jesus' peace spoken, him speaking peace over the water.
Wow.
So, now this, as I was thinking about this is what it reminded me. So this is my little side note here. Spiritual gifts, right? If God gives spiritual gifts, one of these gifts is the ability to see in the spirit realm. So with your natural eyes, I've met a few people that have experienced this, and they can see demons, they can see the angelic, and it's just a natural thing. So with this understanding, if this guy grew up in a family where they didn't understand this gift, and he had this ability to see in the spirit realm, but all he saw was evil spirits, maybe that's that. Well, I don't know. That just kind of opens up some more questions. But here's my thoughts here. Okay, often when a person grows up in a home with no understanding of this gift, the first spirits they usually see are the evil spirits. But if you can see evil spirits, you should be able to see the angelic realm. So, in that theme, with this thought, I wonder if the madman could actually see the light of Jesus out on the boat in the water. That he could actually see who Jesus really was in the spirit realm. So if he's covered and just inundated with all these demons inside of him, and all he sees is darkness, and a light, just a little bit of light shines from a long distance. See where this is going? See how this is stirring? Okay, so in the theme of that thought, I wonder if the madman could see Jesus for who he really was from a long way off, and he knew that he had to meet him there on shore. That he had to meet him there on shore. Okay, hold that thought. Let's put that on the shelf right now. Second thought. Verse 4 talks about the madman being chained multiple times, and he busted all of them. Could not be contained. It also says no one could tame him. No one could control him. Or you could say, what? Yeah, you just couldn't contain him, couldn't control him, couldn't subdue him or make him submit. He was just a banshee, just out of control. That sounds like some superpowers to me. That sounds like some superhuman strength. If he was able to bust ropes, he was able to bust chains, there was something supernatural at play here. And kind of sounds like a villain, right? So now let's back up to the superhero stories, right? If we think about the superhero stories, a lot of the superheroes that we think about are super because of what they've overcome. So the greater the mountain they had to climb, the greater their fame is of their super abilities. So if they're a superhero they overcome a little bump, then they're a little hero. But if they overcome a big bump, then they're a big hero. So a lot of times especially in the movies, you find out how bad it is first. Right? In every story, you find out how bad it is first. And so, I mean, this is a perfect example. In the beginning of the story, they tell the man's story. He's there continually in the tombs, screaming and yelling. So, like, okay, here, let's add in CGI, let's add in film and drama. And so, like, storm set over top of the lake. You know, it's going out of control. And then all of a sudden, a being of great power says one word and everything goes calm. And so it's like foreboding. It's like that's the right word. Foreboding. It's that foretelling that something is imminent, something more powerful is coming ahead in the movie, right? So we know that in those stories. So here, I think the scriptures are kind of just void. They just took out all the drama and put in the facts. Let's just throw in the facts here. And so here he is, cutting himself. I would like to say that the demons were actually cutting him. And so he was screaming and all that stuff going on with him. So you feel in the drama. You feel the tension. Like there's no hope. There's no way. It's been this way all the time. He's just never. It's never gonna. There's never gonna be an end to it. It's just the way it is. He's the demon-possessed man in the tombs that we avoid. So all the rest of the villagers have to walk the long way around, and they know him and know he's there, and so they just avoid him. So as you get the sense of the story, as we get the sense of this story, and as we hear what's been happening, we're getting the sense of the plight of this man, the hopelessness, and I mean, what help is there for this guy? Like the community came together and tried to tame him, tried to subdue him, tried to control him. But he just busted the chains. So he's just a castaway. He's no use in the community. So I mean, here's the telltale mountain that has to be overcome. Where's the hero in this? Where's the light in all of this? Okay, so this is the interesting part to me. Another interesting part to me in this story. So here's the man, meets Jesus on shore, and the first words out of his mouth are, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? Don't torment me." So I have to admit that as I read this story years ago, I just felt like it was just kind of beyond me, or it was just, okay, Jesus did another miracle. Cool, right? And you just kind of gloss over it and just move on to the next story. So, okay, I read chapter 5, got it done. So, all right, that's in the brain somewhere. I've heard the story, but like this time, really stopping to read each line separately and take it word for what it was, like, this really jumped out at me. Because I would think, if I'm in control of my body and I come running to the light that I just presented, and if I'm really asking for help, I think that would be my first words. Help me. I need to be free. Help me. But the first words that come out of this scripture, out of this man's mouth, is, what are you to do with me? Don't torment me. Don't send me away. Don't send me away. It says like 3 times that he was begging. This legion, we don't even know its name yet. I haven't even got that far yet, but Jesus is already saying, come out of that man, you unclean spirit. And he's begging. This spirit is begging not to be sent out of the area. I just had to mull that over a little bit. And something started to come clear to me, is that sounds like those demons are there against their will. Don't torment me! Like, they're begging. It says several times in the scriptures, they're begging, Jesus, don't torment me. Don't do this. In another translation, it says one point where they, I want to get this right. Yeah, in another translation, it said something to the effect of, you weren't supposed to be here yet, Jesus. I think it was in the chapter of Luke 8, where he says, you weren't supposed to be here yet, Jesus. Why are you tormenting me? Why are you doing this? This isn't part of the plan. Right? So again, there's this begging, there's this pleading for life from this creature, from these demons. And so that started to change the story for me. That wasn't just this Jesus just casting out the demon just because he's there. It did seem to be much more intention there, and something deeper. So I kept digging. Okay. So Jesus had already started kicking the unclean spirit out, but the legion was begging Jesus not to cast them out of the area. Okay, so let me get this straight. A village, a town in this region knew about this guy living in the tombs day and night, screaming and cutting himself so much that everybody was afraid to go through this area. No one could chain him, no one could tame him, no one could rope him, no one could control him. And I remember these 3 Gospels. The 3 Gospels, and 2 of the Gospels say there was one guy. There's one guy in the tombs, and then there's only one Matthew that says there was 2 guys. Like there's something significant about that. So anyways, I like the asking the questions. And so, okay. We fast forward. So actually, let's go backwards, where he is actually meeting Jesus at shore. Okay? So not even all the people in this area together can contain him. But as soon as Jesus sets his foot on shore, this madman bows in front of him, submits with no chains, no fetters, no ropes, no control, no screaming in front of him. He bows in front of the greater power, obviously, and he starts begging for his life. Like, that's power. That's power. A legion of demons has terrorized the region for who knows how long, and Jesus steps foot on shore, and the legion of demons drops in terror and submits to his authority. So when I looked up what a legion is 4,000 to 5,000. So in military terms, in Roman military terms, it's 4,000 to 5,000 soldiers. 4,000 to 5,000 soldiers. What's that look like? And if there's 4,000 to 5,000 demons on the inside of that man, that's a lot of voices. That's a lot of control taken away. So where was that guy on the inside? What was going on? If there's 4,000 to 5,000 voices that's some serious schizophrenia right there. That's crazy. And so at the drop of Jesus' foot on that lake shore, that demon is already running from a long way off, dropping in front of him and submitting to his authority. That's power. That's my hero. That's the man. Jesus is the man. That's my big brother. That's our big brother. Take that, demons. Right? Take that. All right. Now let's back up. Let's back up a little bit again and think about the beginning of this message. All the heroes we started talking about have been declared a hero in light of unique physical abilities that they use for good. This emphasis on the outside of a person that makes a difference in the area they live in is a big thing. And that's been the emphasis, is the outside of the person. So they fight against crime, they fight against bullies, they fight against the establishment, against people doing wrong in high places of authority. This all seems to be on the outside of a person. God, on the other hand, deals with things differently. He sees things differently. He speaks to things differently. What does God think of as heroic? If Jesus said he is the picture of the Father, then from his examples, we can get a better picture of what he thinks is a hero. So what about this madman? What makes this madman a hero? I believe that Jesus, being the ultimate hero that he is, saw the man on the inside. The man who gave permission for the demons to control him. The man who gave an inch and the demons took a whole lot of miles. I think Jesus saw past the exterior condition and moved in response to what the man did on the inside. Think about this. In military terms, a legion is 4,000 to 5,000 soldiers. If this unclean spirit is a legion, then there are 4,000 to 5,000 individual demons on the inside of this guy's body. That's a lot of voices. That's a lot of control for a lot of years. It just says this man... I actually went over that already in my notes here. What if? This is my punchline here. What if? What if he was watching the sky respond to a greater power that was moving across the lake? What if he was looking for a way out of his prison? What if, in all the darkness that plagued him, that tormented him, that punished him, that cut him, that made him scream, he saw the light out there on that boat? What if he saw hope step on shore that day? What if he saw the one who could finally set him free? What if he saw Jesus, the light of the world, from a long way off, and in his last little bit of strength and willpower, rose up on the inside as a legion of demons, fighting for control, fighting for a voice, through the hatred, through the lies, clawing at him, pushing him down, but he, in his fight for freedom, rose up anyways. He rose up with all he had and ran for his life to the feet of Jesus. He didn't even have a voice when he got to him. The demons recognized who they knelt in front of and the power that flowed from within him, and they screamed in terror. "What are you doing here? What do you have to do with me? Don't torment me." I don't think they wanted to be there in front of Jesus.
Right.
That's heroism. That's faith. Maybe this was like the lady with the issue of blood. The last chance, last resort, last ditch effort to touch the hem of his garment. Hey, he was preoccupied all that time. It's not like he was reading the newspaper knowing what was going on down the road with Jesus in all these places. I don't think he knew Jesus was in town. I don't think he knew that Jesus was going around the area, and he's like, oh, maybe when he comes to my area, I'm going to be able to look out for him, and maybe he can help me. I think he was preoccupied with all those demons. I think he was isolated in a corner of those tombs for that whole time, and he saw the light from afar off. He saw the light from afar off. Now we know the story that when Jesus asked him his name, he said his name was Legion. We know that they asked, hey, don't send us out of the area. Please, 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 don't torment us. Send us into the pigs. If in that moment Jesus gave permission for those demons to go into those pigs, and you just do the math, so 4,000 to 5,000 demons in one man, torturing him, messing with the whole area. I think that was the principality. I think that was the principality in that area. And they were saying, no, this is our home. Don't send us away from here. And so when they went into the pigs, think about, they say it was 2,000 pigs. About 2,000 pigs. So you do 4 to 5, there's 2 or more voices inside those pigs' brains. That's a lot of flesh right there. And those demons, and all the pigs could do was run to their death. Run to their death. What an experience. What a story. Talk about things to overcome. I mean, actually, as I was doing some research on this story, there was a gentleman that actually suggested that that being a Gentile city, that the city actually had chosen him to be their scapegoat. So in Jewish tradition, there is actually a goat that bears the sin of the people, and they send it out into the desert. But this guy's theory is that as the people were begging Jesus to leave because their business had just gone into the ocean, their business of pigs had just died in the ocean, and so them seeing the madman, that was maybe part of their story of their town. Who knows? But they were saying, this gentleman was saying that the possibility of each of the villagers actually using him as the scapegoat and pushing their sins or their demons on him and letting him bear the weight of all that. Wait, who gets to choose that? Whose idea was that? Nah. But what a picture. I mean, hey, you can find the parallel here. If one man can carry the weight and sins of a village, here comes Jesus, who carried the weight and sins of the world and took that to the grave. Hey, That's my hero right there. That's huge. But back to the man here. Back to the man. As he sat there in his right mind, the herdsman that saw the pigs, saw the man delivered first, saw the demons go into the pigs and the pigs go down into the lake and drown. They saw the whole story. And what's the first thing they did? They went and started telling his story. They ran to the village and they started telling what happened. The man's free. The man's in his right mind. You got to come out and see. So as they came out to see, they saw for themselves, hey, the guy's clothed. He's making sense. It's not, 4,000 to 5,000 different voices coming out of this guy in a crazy way. So here's the last thing that kind of stuck out to me. He asked Jesus if he could go with him. As Jesus was kind of abiding by the villagers' request, no, Jesus, you can't be here, you gotta go. You gotta go. That was just too much change for them to really deal with. And they're like, no, you gotta go. You gotta go. And so Jesus couldn't do anything there. So he went back in the boat, and the man, I'm sure the man was afraid that the demons might come back. And so who better to be with than the one wielding the power? The ultimate hero, right? So he says to Jesus, no, let me come with you. Let me be one of your disciples. I want to be in that safe place. I don't feel safe here. And then Jesus turns around to him and says, no, you need to go to your family. You need to go back to your family, back to your village, and tell what Jesus did for you. Tell them what happened. And so I think in that there's probably a few other words that Jesus shared. And I think in that, as he shared, he actually comforted the man to let him know, when I do something, I do it for good. Those demons aren't coming back in you, not unless you allow them back. So I'm sure he said, are you going to allow them back? No. But he went back to his family and he told his story. I think we'd all agree that this was the first Gentile missionary, right? First Gentile evangelist. And all he did was tell about his experience with Jesus. So, I know my own story. I know my own experiences with Jesus. There's the reason why I gave my heart to Jesus was because my experience with him, he set me free. He picked me up when I had all the statistics said I have 4 or 5 generations of alcoholism in my family, and womanizing, all the rest of abuse, all that stuff, and that was projecting my future. That was forcing my future. But Jesus reached into my life, pulled me up out of that, and I got too many stories of my experience with him. And so I think in this, the true heroism is this man running to Jesus, the ultimate Savior, the ultimate hero. And I think in this man's plight, this situation was just so hopeless and so far gone, but Jesus entered his life and changed him. Jesus did that in him. And so I think the heroism is that he had to tell of Jesus. Like, I have a friend that was healed of MS. Over a period of 4 days, they were healed of multiple sclerosis. And the first thing they knew to do was tell their story. They had been bedridden. They had brain strokes, 2 brain strokes. And they had a mind frame of a 2-year-old child at the age of 27. And when they woke up, what's the first thing they did? Look what Jesus did to me. Look what he did to me. Wow. I think that is at the core of evangelism. That's at the core of ministry. Tell your story. Tell what Jesus means to you. What he's done to you. It's as simple as that. Sitting in your living room with a friend from the community or whoever it is, tell them your story. Whether it's a brother or sister, tell them your story. Jesus is worth being proud of. Jesus is worth talking about. He changes everything when he walks in the room. And if he's changed our lives, why can't we tell? Why can't we talk about that? He is so good. So good. So just in this moment, I'd like us to step into some prayer. Now, I want to kind of change the view of that. I know we say, let's pray a lot. And that can be traditionalized, and that can sound just like just any other regular word. But I want us to open our hearts and step in to Jesus. That's what it means when we pray, is we are communing with him, spending time with him. So, Jesus, you said that when there are two or more gathered together in your name, that you are in the midst. You're here. Lord, I don't just open my ears up to you. I open my heart up to you. So, one thing I like doing is pretending or picturing that there's these doors, big swinging doors on my heart. And in my mind, I think of opening those doors wide. Who's safer to be with than the Prince of Peace? Who? We don't have to hide anything. We don't have to hold anything back from him. But as I open up my heart, I look up with my heart eyes. And I look him in the face. So let's do that. Let's open up our hearts. Look up. Look him in the face. See his smile. To see the twinkle in his eyes. Those piercing, loving eyes. The smile is for approval. He approves of you. He loves you. Lord, we invite you in. Come in to our hearts. We need a fresh experience with you. A fresh, real experience with you. You're real. You're tangible. Lord, I just ask that every person in this place, everybody listening online, everybody in the room would actually feel your presence on their body. Come. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Touch our hearts. Lord, I repent. So each one of us can say this. Lord, we repent for holding our tongue, holding back, talking about you. Lord, we repent and we renounce the fear of man. Forgive us. God, you're so good. You're so good. We don't want to hold back. We want other people to meet you. I want other people to know you. I want my family to know you. I want my children to know you. Not my way. I want them to have a relationship with you that's unique, that's different, that's powerful, that they're hungry for. Come, Lord. Praise. Pray we all have this heroic part in us that against all odds, it's that little bump in front of us that we see, that maybe a closed door, maybe someone we feel that we're shutting out. It's just opening up. It's just us opening up. Not afraid of risk, not afraid of being hurt anymore. Father, in the name of Jesus, heal that part of our hearts. Heal that part of our hearts. Touch us in that place we're afraid. You're with us all the time. As we go from here, Lord, I just pray your Spirit to cover everyone. Lord, I pray, Father, that these doors wouldn't be slammed shut as we walk out these doors. The literal doors of the church. But I pray, or the house, I just pray, Father, that we would live with an open heart. Open heart to you. We can put that on the shelf and see, hey, the reason why I'm smiling today is because I'm walking with Jesus. Walking with my Father. You should get to know him. Pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.